Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about an adventure romance film called Virgin Territory from 2007. Enjoy your viewing. At the beginning of the film, Tindaro tells us that he used to be a thief, but he could easily be punished or dishonored for it, so he chose the profession of an artist. He likes to paint animals, nuns, and angels. But soon everything changed, and the plague came to Italy. He tells the story of Lorenzo, who loses a card game with Gerbino. After that, he runs away from him. Gerbino tries to catch him, but Lorenzo is very good at running away from him and says that he won't get him. Lorenzo is in love with Pompanea. She is rich, but not spoiled, just a discerning girl. Lorenzo is met by his friends, who tell him that his house is surrounded by Gerbino. After that, Lorenzo leaves the city. Tindaro finds out that his priest has fallen into an eternal sleep and realizes that he will not receive any money. He started hearing voices in his head all the time, and he gets the idea to become a priest, because they took everything for themselves: money, power, and beautiful nuns. Later, they show Gerbino. Tindaro says that he looks like a stallion, but there are rumors that his sword in his pants is long rusted. Pampanea's parents are dead, and she is forced to marry the Russian Count Dzerzhinsky. Gerbino says that before his death, his father gave his consent for Pompanea to marry him. Later, Lorenzo rides away on a horse from Gerbino's guards. He meets a worker, and the worker tells him that he is carrying a body from a monastery called the Bleeding Heart. He says that the main secret of this gardener was that he was deaf and dumb. Lorenzo hides in a tree from the bandits, but then falls and loses consciousness. 3 nuns find him. They call him an angel sent from heaven. Then they bring him to the monastery. They discuss him and admire him, saying how beautiful his lips and hair are. One nun offers to undress him to see if he has any wounds. She lifts his shirt and kisses his stomach, and then offers to kiss him on the lips. Lorenzo notices all this, but remains silent. When their mother arrives, they believe that he must be deaf and dumb, and she is happy that they will have a new gardener. She suggests that they send him to take a bath. The nuns visit Lorenzo and do something very unusual for them. Later, Pompanea invites her friends to come to her wedding. Filomena boasts of her innocence, and Alyssa says that not everyone here is as innocent as she thinks. They say that Pompanea is in love with Lorenzo, and Gerbino hears this. He threatens his friends, and Tindaro hears it. The voices come to his head again, and he asks Gerbino to leave the holy place. The latter wants to punish him for his rudeness, but Tindaro asks him about the last time he confessed. Tindaro is shocked by what he has just said, and decides to become a priest. Filomena finds a carriage to take them to the wedding. Alyssa asks who it is, and Filomena says it is her uncle Bruno. He is not very smart, but the main thing is that he is still innocent. Bruno says that he keeps himself as the apple of his eye. At this point, Alyssa says that Tindaro will be their priest. Then they show Pompanea, who has arrived at the monastery to preserve her virginity, but she does not yet know who she is among. At this point, Count Dzerzhinsky arrives. He introduces himself to Gerbino and thinks he is Pompanea's father. Gerbino greets him rudely and says that he is Pompanea's future husband. They threaten each other, and the Count is forced to leave the castle. He is met by the pastor, who tells him that Pompanea will be waiting for him at the country villa and gives him a letter from her. 2 nuns come to Lorenzo and ask him to give them what he gave to the other nuns. They begin to undress, and Lorenzo happily agrees. At this time, Tindaro leaves with Bruno. He says that he often spoils the air, and Filomena is constantly bragging about her virginity, and she starts doing it again. She talks about her friend Dioneo, who is supposedly also innocent. Pompanea says that he has been acting very strangely lately. Later, Dioneo and his friend notice 2 girls beckoning to them. He tells his friend to ask them what they want. They offer them milk to drink and bread to eat. The boys run after the girls to the barn. There, the girls show them a cow and tell them that this is their milk. Filomena hears the boys and girls shouting from the barn. She enters and sees the boys rubbing themselves and the girls against each other. On this day, the nuns, along with Pompanea, come to Lorenzo to give him some water. But when Pompanea does this, she pours water on his head and tells him to drown. Later, Father Tindaro decides to leave Filomena. He advises her that there is nothing wrong with kissing a lip and leaves. The next day, Pompanea comes to Lorenzo. She blindfolds him, kisses him, and tells him that she is dreaming about him. Later, Dioneo goes to the forest to see Filomena. She finds him, kisses him easily, and tells him that he will soon get what he wants from her. Then she kisses him again and again, but at some point Dioneo starts to twitch. They are met by bandits and taken captive. That evening, their leader comes to the girls and says that he invites them to work. Alyssa says that he is quite handsome and passionate. She proposes to solve this issue in a tricky way, and goes to the leader's room. She starts dancing for him, later returns and says that it was boring. He just wanted her to dance for him, nothing more. The girls decide to cunningly steal the key from the bandits and force them to take off their pants. A fight breaks out and the girls run away. They are met by the leader, but he is eliminated by Bruno. The next day, Pampanea tells her mother that she heard Lorenzo singing in the garden and that he has a very pleasant voice. She decides to leave the convent because she is jealous of Lorenzo. The mother nun comes to the sleeping Lorenzo and says in his ear that the butcher has come to take out his tongue. He jumps up and apologizes, but she chases him out of the monastery. On this day, Count Dzerzhinsky escapes from the people of Gerbino. He comes to a waterfall to get drunk and notices Alyssa floating in the water. He is surprised and tries to figure out if she is a sorceress. The Count officially introduces himself and says that if she is not Pampanea, it will be a miracle, because she is the most beautiful girl in the world. She comes out of the water, and they kiss. Pampanea passes the monastery and meets Lorenzo. She says she is going to her wedding, and Lorenzo decides to go with her. At this moment, Tindaro approaches the monastery and says that the abbess of this monastery is a woman of incomparable passion. He meets her in the monastery and tells her that he has come to serve and pray. She takes him into a room and offers to do some unusual things. Later, Lorenzo, talking to Pampanea, says that he is in love with a girl who kissed him and cannot forget her. While they are walking, Pampanea offers to refresh his memory, but Gerbino arrives and attacks Lorenzo. Pampanea says that if he injures him, she will never marry him. She offers a condition. Pampanea will marry him only if he lets Lorenzo go. Gerbino agrees and says that they will be married soon. At this moment, Tindaro comes to the castle. Pampanea asks him to stall for time before the wedding. At this time, Lorenzo goes with the guards to the forest. They tell him that Gerbino ordered him to be killed, but they let him go. Lorenzo doesn't believe them at first, but later eliminates them both. He meets Count Dzerzhinsky, who is also on his way to Pampanea. At this time, Tindaro is stretching the wedding time as much as possible. He slowly pours wine into glasses, and the guests taste it. Gerbino threatens Tindaro, but he says that the wedding has taken place. At this moment, the Count arrives and shoots at Gerbino. Lorenzo also arrives and takes Pampanea with him. The Count and Gerbino fight, but Lorenzo stops them. The Count says that if he kills Gerbino, he will be forced to kill Lorenzo. They toss a coin, and Lorenzo wins. Gerbino is afraid to go to the well, but the Count pushes him. They fight, and Lorenzo offers him a choice. If he jumps into the deep well, he might survive. Gerbino attacks Lorenzo, and then falls into the well. The Count praises Lorenzo, and almost pushes him into the abyss. Pampanea arrives, and the Count asks her to marry him. At this moment, Alyssa appears, whom he loves the most. Pampanea runs after Lorenzo, and kisses him. He remembers who kissed him in the monastery. There is a wedding, and everyone kisses. Tindaro says that he is returning to the monastery where the angel is waiting for him, on which he left his painting. If you have watched the video so far, you should know that I am happy to have viewers like you. Thank you for watching to the end. Subscribe to the channel and follow the news. Klontsak Recapped was with you. See you soon.